Jamwal, days after another Kashmiri Pandit was murdered by terrorists in South Kashmir, Shopian, two migrant labourers from Uttar Pradesh have been killed in a targeted grenade attack in Shopian as well. The police have arrested two terrorists who have been identified as overground workers or hybrid terrorists linked to the Lashkar-e-Taiba. However, anger continues on the streets of Jammu and Kashmir as Kashmiri Pandits are demanding relocation outside the valley. But the government has made it clear that any move to relocate Pandits will be an admission of defeat against the terrorists. On the broadcast, I'm joined by General Saidata Hasnain and General Sanjay Kulkarni, two military men who understand the DNA of Jammu and Kashmir. Good evening, gentlemen. General Hasnain, I'll come to you first. While the crackdown on terror continues in Jammu and Kashmir, the big challenge, it seems, is uprooting terror from a region where terrorists and separatists have called the shots for decades.
Ashman, first of all, this is a very, very big question that you have asked me. And thank you for inviting me to your program. But this is a very big question. When a conflict, which is I call a proxy conflict, has gone on for 30 years and more, it is really more than a generation if you really look at it. It's seeped into the fabric of society. And to weed this out, to weed out something which has deliberately been done by your adversaries, is going to be a very, very difficult phase for you, is going to be a very, very deep challenge for you. First of all, we have to understand that most of us have no understanding. In India, most of us have no understanding of Jammu and Kashmir. We think that Jammu and Kashmir is a terrorist problem. It is furthest from being a terrorist problem. It's a proxy war problem. It's a hybrid war problem. Now, the problem is that today, suddenly out of the blue, a lot of people have introduced this terminology called the hybrid conflict, or rather the hybrid terrorist. Now people are even more confused. What is the hybrid terrorist and what is the hybrid conflict? I don't want to go into the details of all this. The center of gravity of such conflicts are always the people of that region. The side that the people will favor will be the side which will ultimately win this conflict. This is a notion which has to be understood. The problem is that those who do not have a securitized orientation think that the only weapon to be used for this is the AK-47. And at the end of the year, you count the number of terrorists killed and celebrate that. You do not realize that if you have killed 200 terrorists, you have perhaps created 300 more. And this cycle continues. So this cycle has to be broken. This cycle has to be broken by making sure that your infiltration from across the line of control is restricted, limited, neutralized. The second paradigm is recruitment, which is local. And that you can control through what the question you asked me. And that is the hearts and minds direction, through the hearts and minds line. But for that, the effort has to be phenomenal. The understanding cannot be just security understanding, cannot be military understanding. It has to be social, it has to be economic, it has to be cultural, it has to be religious. There's a combination of so many things. It has to go into this. Now, if you really want to take this into the realm of a large-scale hearts and minds program, then this has to have an all-of-government approach, which means every department of government has to participate in this to understand that we have a security problem because of the isolation of the people away from the mainstream India.
Right.
And we have to bring people back into the mainstream.
Right. I want to take that point to you, General Kulkarni. The specter of separatism, to truly achieve normalcy, you have to exercise that from the region and even the people.
Ayushman, as I look at it, I personally would feel that much that is being said about, and primarily when it comes from ex-chief ministers, that things like this can be stopped, is indicative of the separatist ideology that still persists amongst some of the valley politicians. I think these kind of statements that emanate do give a feeling that definitely the local politicians and the ones who've been there as chief ministers of the state, wanting and advising the government of India every now and then, talk to Pakistan, talk to Pakistan. Obviously, this entire terrorism have its various, you can say dimensions. There is external dimension. There is the external dimension. Obviously, you have Pakistan, which is playing a very big role. All instruments of accession signed by all the principalities and the Maharajas had the same paper on which dotted line was signed by the Maharaja Hari Singh then. So I think these kind of talks by separatist politicians who are from the valley, again and again putting this into the heads of the Kashmiris who are not interested in all this. Who would be interested in? They are more interested in good education. They are more interested in opportunities to be able to work. They are more interested in tourism flourishing so that they can be benefited from it. They are more interested in interaction and feeling free and fair wherever they go in India, not being discriminated, not being seen as someone, who don't seem to be feel. All this has been instilled in the minds of the Kashmiris by none other than these local politicians who seem to be the biggest beneficiaries of this Article 370 till it was abrogated. It is they who have lost everything, and now they feel absolutely, fish out of water. And that's where the whole problem is cropping up. Well, all these fringe, as you said, rightly said, hybrid terrorists, they're bound to have these kind of things to happen, because why they do happen is because there are some separatists who are interested in all these kind of things. So they will do, kill one and scare millions. That's what they're doing right now. But the millions are not actually interested in what's happening. There's just fringe elements, very, very small. How many terrorists do you think there are? There wouldn't be more than about 150 to 175. Presuming that 50% are Pak origin and another balance of them are maybe the locals. How many OGWs? Probably another same number you can say would be the OGW, the overground workers, whom we call them as OGWs. How many of these hybrid, radicalized, unlisted? They're all those, they are their eyes and ears, because they are the people who are helping this terror front organization with all kinds, whether it is funding, whether it is shelter, whether it is food, whether it's providing them with batteries for their mobiles or charging their mobiles and giving them information about the security forces. So this kind of a thing, unless the Kashmiri himself, the local, the Aam Aadmi, what we call it in Kashmir, the common man, he has to stand up and say enough is enough. Now, these local politicians over there, if they're trying to play the sentiment again and again, I think it's time they got away with it, and they must be sorted out nice and proper. And even this clergy lot, the clergy lot also, because not many of them are Kashmiris themselves. You'll find a lot of them from UP. You'll find a lot of them from other states who go there, and clergies in their various masjids and everyone, always and every time talking about all this. Terrorism is definitely on decline. On decline. You have a double digit. Once upon a time, you had stone pelters, you had militants in 3 digits. Today, there's nothing. Very few, some here and there. And you take it, if the people from Kashmir decide from the valley, I would say from the valley, decide that, well, they are not going to support it and they will openly go against it, you'll soon find terrorism will end within 48 hours.
Absolutely.